Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you jumping onto this fireside chat. I'm Matt Robinson. I'm the CTO here at Gruve. Delighted to have you on today for this conversation with Bricklayer. And to join us today, we have Norman Currie, who I'll let you introduce yourself, Norman, as far as your responsibilities at Bricklayer, and then we can get into some of the things we're seeing in the industry.
Thanks, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. Everyone, welcome and thank you for taking the time to listen in. My name is Norman Currie, and I'm head of customer and partner experience here at Bricklayer. So in my role, I have responsibility for our channel strategy and our go-to-market strategy with our partnerships, as well as all of the back-end support, service delivery, and ongoing requirements of both our customers and our partners. So I'm excited to be here today speaking with you, Matt, and to talk about, how we've accelerated capability for both Gruve and Bricklayer through this collaboration and partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say that, it's certainly not our first conversation and absolutely not our last. I think what we're seeing is, a lot of this AI and automation really reshaping the concept of how things like security operations are being managed within enterprise organizations and with companies who, have tried to solve the SOC problem in a variety of ways. And, the one way in which we are evaluating this and have gone through this partnership and the discussion of the challenges, I think for us has made this very compelling, not just between ourselves, but also to many of the customers that we have in our existing SOC that are leveraging Bricklayer now through the platform use, but also future customers that we intend to bring through this efforts. Maybe what we'll do is we'll start this conversation out by, kind of talking about the current state, the state of the state, if you would, of the problems that are being seen. So I'm not sure about you, but, I look at what a lot of the security teams that we're seeing, both of the enterprise organizations as well as what we're seeing through the lens of our SOC implementations, is that the threat load is just increasing. The logging is getting larger. The conversations have in many ways transitioned away from traditional EPS into gigs per day because of the level of content that's actually being generated. What are you seeing on your end?
I think we're seeing something very similar. We've all lived through the years of technology evolution where various tech has promised to solve the problems of alert overload and data overload, context and correlation overload. And we've seen that through the evolution of SIM and the promise of creating rule automation within the environment to help reduce noise. Then we've seen it in SOAR technologies over the years, where automating workflows was going to take the weight off of the analysts. And I think what we've continued to see is an outpaced acceleration of the alert and data volumes have simply overwhelmed many of those promises over the years. And that's led to, as we're both well aware, the issue with maintaining quality service delivery within security operations is always a combination of speed and truly producing consistency and quality. And in order to do that, simply stated, people don't scale. And as the attackers are leveraging AI and we're seeing an acceleration of threat actors and environments, we've got to respond in kind. And agentic AI, quite honestly, is the first opportunity in tech that provides a reasonable defense posture that allows security operations environments to really not only keep up but get ahead and become not only quality driven but with an ability to accelerate and anticipate the problems that are coming for customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the receiving end, as we have a SOC now AI enabled, we saw it through, frankly, repetitive threats that are coming in and trying to deal with an increasing workload where L1 analysts, L2 analysts are having to look at these logs and try to keep up with, okay, what's a false positive? What is a particular situation that I actually need to bubble up? Can we do more correlation or more time investment into validating all these things? But with that increasing load, you can't hire your way out of that problem. Right. This is where technology absolutely can enable and improve the ability to allow our resources to scale more effectively and use these platforms, use Bricklayer, as well as other SIM and SOAR technologies combined together in effective ways to ultimately achieve a reduction of workload, but also some additional accuracies. And for us, I'd say allowing those juniors to take the load off and to spend more time investing into more research, more intelligence and data, it absolutely gives us the ability to turn them into senior analysts and develop them into bigger and brighter capabilities, which is what I think the entire industry needs as a whole. Because again, L1 is great, but L1 is one of those areas where it's not showing that we can invest in those researchers to become more and do more with that platform and allow some of the more transactional elements to kind of fade away. If I'm thinking about the repetitive work component, right, and
Hmm.
thinking about that, outcomes, which is something Groove absolutely cares about. We focus on essentially enabling enterprises to become AI powerhouses. And in many ways, we do that by trying to eliminate this repetitive work and get to an outcome. How do you see Bricklayer, helping drive outcomes for customers as it relates to their SOC implementations?
Well, I think it's important to understand that Bricklayer is foundationally an agentic AI platform for solving security problems. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Bricklayer, we've worked very closely with Matt, your team, and Groove as a design partner in helping to continue to evolve the approach to solving those security problems, specific to the SecOps space, but with a broad reach in security as a whole. The technology enables for the development of procedures and tasks which can be executed by AI to reduce or eliminate that rote activity that people aren't necessary for, allowing them, as you mentioned, to shift their roles to the right and become more the reviewers, the approvers, the investigators, where intuition is truly necessary. Allowing the tech, as it's built, to provide an agentic AI team that works together to handle all of the rote activity and the procedural work that enables both speed and consistency in the outcomes you deliver to your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the augmentation, that idea of AI teammates and human teammates collaborating together, leaning into the strengths of each on the AI side, taking the information, going through the correlations, pulling the details across, providing some, let's say, higher speed, higher accuracy details, and not so much the mundane aspects, allows that intelligent and that view of the data through a lens which can be more curious and be more impactful in what is actually going on here. Do I understand the customer and what they're doing in their environment, which may be leading to some elements of why we're seeing these alerts, and then connecting that back even to traditional ITSM requirements, things like change management. If things are happening outside of a change window as opposed to things that are happening in a change window, is that showing some sort of effect or change related to what that customer is doing? So it's not just taking the multi-agent benefits, which are massive for us, and we're actually measuring that today, and we can get into some of that. But the idea that we can then connect it to how a business is actually running and functioning, so we get higher speed, we get multi-agents, and right now we'll get into roadmap later, but we've got a lot on the roadmap for agent build-outs. But also just this idea of we have the accuracy and the function to allow our resources to again expand their skills into deeper review and deeper associative value into what our enterprise customers are doing. So maybe pivoting away from there, because we started this journey, I think, in earlier this year, early
Mhm.
2025, and really trying to understand, okay, we want to make this jump from SOC, which has been a core part of our business for 15 plus years. How do we transition this into something that really activates and enables this idea of AI SOC, which has many different definitions, but for us involves leveraging Bricklayer. How do you see that working as far as our two companies together and enabling customers through that AI experience?
Well, I think it's incredibly important to understand that technology and service delivery work hand in hand. Groove has, pointing out that Groove has been a design partner, a customer, and a service delivery partner, all with Bricklayer. So we've taken this journey together where Groove has spent time providing input and feedback into process development, into new use case development that have led to refinements in the agents. And as you said, you've got a deep roadmap set up around additional agent deployment to solve new problems. From Bricklayer's perspective, the value that we've seen and thus can deliver out to your customers is the ability to continue to evolve around process and use case development. One of the things that I think has made this partnership work is that Bricklayer hasn't simply built an agent to solve a single problem. As you're well aware, we have out of the box use cases, which allows us to address some of the core use cases that we see across security, like AI, AI SOC for triage and investigation up to and including remediation of alerts, or AI-based threat hunting, or. What's different and what has really made this partnership valuable is the ability to customize those use cases to suit business needs and then the downstream expectations for outcomes of your customers. Working with the Gruve team, going through these measurable results week after week, month after month, and continuing to refine those so that you've been able to implement that within your service delivery model, I think generates not only better outcomes for the customer, but better consistent outcomes for the customer while allowing the ability to scale with consistency in those delivery outcomes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And just to maybe take it a step further, having the ability to bring in many different platforms, like thinking about multi-SIM, multi-SOAR, being able to look at different toolings that a company might use. In our first aspects of our journey, it allowed us to take some of those out-of-the-box things and quickly customize them for our particular use cases for some of our key SOC customers so that they could immediately take advantage of it. But what I think it's also done is given us a window into all the different platforms that could be integrated into and leveraged and managed through Bricklayer. For us is highly empowering, not just through what we do with our customers today, but this idea that we can now go to other customers who are asking questions. Hey, I'd like to take my SOC into an AI SOC. I'd like to start this journey and this transition into using AI for my security operations. How do I get started? And that journey can come in a variety of forms. Evaluating where somebody's at, assessing their existing SOC to understand where AI can be introduced, working with them to come up with the design for these AI agents using Bricklayer to ensure that those match to existing procedures and tasks that they may have within the business, so you can quickly eliminate the work that really should be driven through an AI teammate rather than something that's driven through a normalized experience. And really to be able to take that idea of the potential of AI for SOC into something that is both production ready and then productionized so that you can use it on a day-to-day basis and continue to evolve those procedures and continue to introduce new procedures. It's really powerful. And going through this with you has been an eye-opener for us around the different ways to use even some of these SIM and SOAR platforms more effectively, integrating into a platform that can take that information, take those logs, give us tangible, valuable results faster than what we were able to do with just people alone.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I've heard you say it a few times, and I absolutely love hearing it every time when you say we use the term AI teammate, because it really is crossing the chasm from using tooling to get a result and understanding that AI can function as a virtual team for your organization. So it's about the pairing of the capability with the tech to the people to produce the best outcomes. It helps to enhance the ability to utilize human intuition where it's necessary to deliver the best security outcomes. And we recognize, we've worked with you now for months and realize the group gets that. When you hear the concerns about AI adoption, what it's going to do to existing markets and existing roles, the truth of the matter, as we dig into this, what we see is an evolution in a way that enhances human experience and brings people in, the human in the loop model that allows people to not only be relevant in this space, but to be more the guide, the expert, the link back to the customer experience by releasing them from or taking the load off of all of that rote activity that had traditionally been the role of the analyst. I think that we're going to look back in a couple of years and people who had avoided that role in their career or pivoting that way in their career because of the stories around the necessity of doing, the same activities over and over again, that type of assembly line activity, being released from that and helping to pivot their roles into ways that really have impact in the security outcomes for their customers is just huge. Hearing that coming from you as a partner is just music to our ears.
Thanks. We pride ourselves in digging in on this partnership with Bricklayer. It's one that we tie back into a lot of our agentic work. So we do a lot of data preparation. We do a lot of agent builds, and If you look at this SOC problem and you say, well, maybe I'll just go build a couple of agents and, that'll be good enough for work. You try to pick off one or two problems that you think your SOC might need in order to improve. I'll do some port scanning. Maybe I'll do some analysis of logs through this particular
Yeah.
optic. But when you look at that and you try to then say, well, I've got hundreds of potential problems, right? It's not just one given characteristic. It is a multifaceted, multi-disciplined ecosystem where, because there's so many different vendors in this market space, ranging from the hardware all the way up through the application stack, you can't just assume that one agent's going to be able to solve it alone. And saying that I can just take one agent and go build that, that's great. And there's some scenarios where having that surgical approach is useful. But there's also a lot of scenarios where I need to approach this problem holistically and getting an understanding that maybe I've got Cisco, maybe I've got Palo Alto, maybe I've got Fortinet, maybe there's some F5 sprinkle in there, some Netscope is over there, I've got Zscaler. This multi-vendor, just even platform approach, independent of all of the SIEM and SOAR, or where I may get virus details, where MITRE details may come in, all of those different pieces have to be patched together. And trying to just build a singular agent to glue that and then to build a repeatable model that I can then take to other customers becomes, in some ways, the exact problem we're trying to get out of, which is it's something that is not scalable. It doesn't provide us consistent results, and ultimately doesn't allow us to create essentially one managed lens on cybersecurity through how incidents should be consistently managed for an enterprise organization. And so in that context, while we continue to build agents around a variety of business needs for our customers, and we occasionally see the need to provide some form of cybersecurity agent to perform a particular function related to a business application, ultimately what we try to do is to say, let's think about the problem more holistically. Let's look at this through a bigger lens and try to understand how you can really tackle all of your cybersecurity logs and information through one lens, through one platform, and consolidate that view. You could still use a lot of your favorite vendor technologies, but you do it in a way that provides consistency, provides repeatability around how you approach the particular problems. And ultimately, we get many, hundreds, I think we're into the thousands of man hours saved, as well as getting results not in high minutes to early hours, but within, less than 5 minutes on some of these things. And
Absolutely.
that allows me to be, if I look at MTTD or MTTR, those are key foundational elements, which allows me to be far more responsive and far more impactful to our enterprise customers who use the SOC, or for customers where we're implementing Bricklayer to allow them to take advantage of those benefits, right from the get-go.
Absolutely. And you said a few things that resonated that I want to circle back to real quick. You talk about the difference between utilizing an agent for a surgical or a tactical problem versus the utilization of a platform. The best security operations organizations, MSSPs, service providers, MDRs, in my mind, have always cultivated a culture of experimentation, where you're constantly looking at where are we burning the most man hours and time? Can we do something to reduce that to allow our people to focus on more high value activities for our customers? So that may be evaluating what's the largest volume of alert. Can we build a workflow around that alert that reduces investigation time? That was kind of the old mindset of let's build a workflow. Let's kind of automate a process but those are all very brittle ways of doing it, because every change in the environment caused the shift from analyst issues to engineering issues, because you have to have whatever you build, you have to maintain. And when you talk about utilization of an agentic AI platform that enables the ability to evolve your tactics to solving those problems on an ongoing basis. So as you continue to analyze your business, and Gruve says, here's where we can show an improvement in the way that we deliver an outcome. We just need to have the resourcing to do it. That used to be, do we hire for it? Do we add a tool? Now it can be simply, let's utilize our AI workforce, our AI agent workforce now as a teaming to our human beings, and define a quick process, align those agents to solving that problem, and then we evaluate, tweak it, test it, implement it, and it's done. I think that is such a powerful shift in the use of technology within the managed security environment. I really think it is the first time I've seen tech that offers deliver on those promises of really delivering a more human-centric experience. And working with Groove over these months and seeing you lean into this and becoming a really AI first led SOC, I think also has shifted mindset into producing more human-centered customer outcomes, which is an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, definitely. And I look at it as Bricklayer, this symbiosis, if you would, between, Bricklayer bringing this platform to market, us realizing the empowerment it gives our business, but then taking that a step further, where now we can look to Bricklayer and say, how do we push further? How do we get into more capabilities for future customer use cases? How do we get into, more scenarios where we can measure and prove the value and the outcome to leadership teams who are many times doubtful of the benefits, or they feel like they're intransigently stuck in some SOC model that they can't get out of. Yeah, I view all of those as highly impactful, and then even to the degree that we've now built essentially an AI incubation team specifically around this particular AI SOC discipline, because we feel it's something that, while we take advantage of and enjoy, many enterprise organizations, many customers who want to do this themselves based on regulatory restrictions or needs to manage, particular types of problems internally, gives us the ability to reach out to them and say, hey, let's help you solve this problem similar to how we've solved this problem, but do it around your enterprise use cases, your enterprise infrastructure, knowing that we can get in there and bring those tasks and real value and outcomes earlier rather than later. And I think that they'll start to see the benefits of reducing burnout. They'll start to see that, they can now focus on that high value work around doing analysis rather than just doing report generation or some of what I'll call the lower value tasks. Still important to build foundationally, but ultimately you want those resources to be able to focus on the meat of the problems and can join it to everything else that's going on in the enterprise.
Absolutely. And what excites me the most about the ongoing partnership and the work that we have to do is that we're discovering every day new applications. Allowing the human creativity factor to come in and say, here are areas where we've not just drive efficiency in current process, but allow us to deliver value added service on top of what we do today, because we have the ability to enable that through AI. And that expansion of the portfolio of offerings, that ability to get proactive with customers and say, you can layer this type of threat intel correlation now on top of the investigatory work that we do, because we have machine speed and the intelligence of AI to enable that under human oversight. The evolution of this as we move forward, and the ability for providers like Groove to get ahead of where the market is going and to cultivate that culture of experimentation to drive new outcomes and results, is where really the power of AI lies, and why Bricklayer is so thrilled to be as part of this journey with you all at Groove.
Yeah, well, I would say thank you. I mean, for me, it's absolutely been a pleasure to collaborate again in these newer AI areas. I think that the problems are continuing to evolve. The
Hmm.
complexities, I've heard Jensen, for example, go out there and say there's going to be, thousands more agents than there's going to be people, right? To look at these security issues and understand what's going on within this space. There's going to be, more agentic. I think, I forget the gentleman at reInvent who made the same statement, saying there's going to be billions of these
Hmm.
agents running around, with a tremendous number focusing around these cybersecurity scenarios. With this continued evolution, with this continued need to introduce this agentic teammate or agent approach, leveraging, Bricklayer and other AI agent mechanisms that can be deployed in an enterprise for things even outside of traditional SOC or cybersecurity, is a continuing growth path. Bricklayer is, I think, again, foundational to that first step that enterprises can make in order to, start that journey and
Hmm.
then find new ways to introduce, okay, here's ways I'm not using it today. One of the things we've talked about is this idea of subscription services for things that are important to understand around changes and evolutions in the market based upon technologies that you're using today, and getting that intelligence on a scheduled basis around MITRE attacks or any kind of CVE that may be coming out, and seeing what the applicability may be for your environment, and being able to use platforms like Bricklayer to accomplish that, become very interesting growth scenarios for companies that are using it for SOC to start, but start to see even greater possibilities around this agent view for cybersecurity as a whole.
Uh,
So we're terribly excited with what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, you hear the words, there are going to be billions of these things out there. Not all of them are going to wear white hats. It's not just the defenders; it's the attackers, the bad actors, the threat actors that are utilizing and leveraging AI as well. So, we're ready to work with Groove to meet those attackers where they're at and make sure that um, we continue to stay on the right side of this and deliver the outcomes to customers that really allow them to focus on their business and have peace of mind around the security that they're receiving.
Awesome. Well, Norman, I want to say thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I know it feels like we've been working on this for a few months, but it also feels like the start of a great journey. And I know that there's a lot more work that we're going to continue to be doing together, both ourselves, my organization as a partner with Gruve, but also with enterprise customers where we're jointly collaborating and helping them build out solutions. So I just want to say thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. Joe, you want to send us off?
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Cheers.